We're looking forward to a great opportunity this weekend to play two Ivy League teams, starting out with Princeton, obviously, followed by Penn. I think it's just an opportunity for us that we can learn from our past game and make some adjustments and hopefully compete at a much higher level and have some fun this weekend. So looking forward to it.
Questions?
What was the biggest thing you learned about your team from the game?
Just that we essentially just made a couple of mistakes under pressure, and we just need to clean some things up, stay focused, and we've talked about the same. Execution is a major factor and a point of emphasis for us this year, and we got work to do still. And it's going to be a process. We're still in February, and we got to get better. So we'll continue to do that.
Obviously, you don't want to lose games, but how do you think maybe losing a game at this point in the season helps you guys?
I think it gives you teaching moments. So I think that's really what it did. It gives us the opportunity to go back and clean up a couple areas and talk about situations, and hopefully that experience will allow us to make better decisions in future games.
Coach, 2 games in 3 days coming up here. How does the week of prep change, if at all, for that?
Well, the first game's pretty straightforward. The second one will be a cram session, so as a staff, obviously we'll prepare in advance. But for the players, we like them to be focused on the game in front of them. So that's what we're doing. Everything's about Princeton. We're taking care of all the prep, practice, and then we'll flip the switch really quickly and move on to Penn, and we'll see how we do under a quick turnaround. The good thing is that the weekend's set up so that no team has an unfair advantage, and that's the idea of playing this. It replicates an ACC NCAA tournament weekend, and we want that experience, and this way we can go into it and everybody's under the same situation.
The Ivy League's off to a really good start this season, Coach. When you play these teams over the stretch, is there kind of a sense that these are teams that you can potentially see in more meaningful games down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. We like to play the best, so we know where we're at and we learn from it. Last year we had a game, we lost to Harvard and we beat them in the playoff. So these games give you that experience, and we may see one of them again, and if we need to make adjustments, we will, and that's what it taught us last year. But it's also just fun to get a couple games in one weekend. I know the players are really excited to actually be playing some extra games as opposed to fewer, so I'm excited about it.
Just looking at Princeton, 2 very different games for them to start their season. Just what are you seeing from them on film?
You've seen. I think Penn State gave them, gave us a model to look at. They had great results against Princeton, and then obviously Princeton rebounded, taking down Maryland. So, on film, you just gotta take what they're doing. We've analyzed it and came up with a game plan, and I think we're pretty much ready to go, and everything's in place. And now it's about execution, energy, and excitement about the opportunity.
Against Harvard, you kind of flip-flop Michael and Payton and attack in midfield. I was kind of wondering what went into that decision, and if that's something that you're going to continue to do down the line.
Well, you just read the way the game's going, and you make adjustments. It's, I think we came out in that third quarter and scored a bunch of goals right away, so I thought it was a good adjustment. And we just have gut feelings sometimes. Sometimes players, just the matchup's not right, if something's not working, so you make the change and you make the adjustment. So that's what we did, and gave us a chance.
Michael had 4 assists against Harvard. How do you see him, becoming a more complete player? Because I don't think, I can't remember if that's a very high amount, but how have you seen him become a more complete player in terms of distribution?
Everybody has their role on this team. Everybody has their jobs to do, and we just want him to continue to do it at a high level. And and bring that energy every day. And so he's just going to continue to do what we ask of him, and sometimes he's going to have assists, sometimes he's going to have goals. That is kind of determined by the opponents as opposed to him himself. So I'm excited what he can do this weekend.
What's the toughest thing about defending, I guess, game planning in terms of defensively for a team like Princeton? They have so many guys that can hurt you. Is that kind of the main concern there?
Yeah, it's they kind of start out structured on the offensive end, and then they go into almost freelance mode. So it makes it you got to kind of prepare for every situation, from picks to it's not necessarily going to be just a set play or set formation all the time. They go into kind of a freelance mode, and you just have to play the team defense and go back to your fundamentals. So that's what we've been working on.
Any more questions?
Have you seen a sense of urgency from your team in practice this week, coming off the loss?
I think they were disappointed in the results last weekend, so they want to right the ship, as you say, and come out and prove that they're better than that, and that they can play a game with fewer mistakes and come out on top.
Against Harvard, you started Chuck over Jordan at defense the second straight game in a row. I was kind of wondering what's really impressed you about his transitions during the lineup.
Well, it's just we're looking for the foot speed to match up with some dynamic offenses. So that's kind of why that's done. Jordan's been doing a great job for us. Against the right teams, he'll be in there when we think the matchup's a good one, and we can move Chuck back up to LSM. So. It's nice to be able to go back and forth and have those opportunities.
How valuable is having that versatility with Chuck being able to play LSM and then close defense?
Well, it's obviously nice. Obviously, you hope you have, other players that could maybe do that as close defenders and keep Chuck in the LSM, but he's one of our most athletic defenders, so we chose to move him back there for the defensive package, and I think it's worked out pretty well so far. But we're still making mistakes. Still early in the season. It's still February, so we'll continue to make adjustments and get better.
Coach, a lot of close games against these Ivy opponents. The 3 against Harvard, 1 against Princeton last year in the tournament. From your vantage point, what's gone into just making these games against Ivy League opponents so competitive?
I just think they're very good teams. We got 2 really high-level teams that are playing each other, and it creates those close, high-scoring games. That I think the offensive sides of Princeton, Syracuse is just 2 teams that are coached very well, and they move the ball very well, and they can score a lot of goals. So it's a challenge to both defenses to try and limit that. And the result's been, high-scoring 1-goal game so far.
Final question.
Do you think you'll have Jake back for Princeton?
Yeah, believe Jake's good to go, and we could use him, so we're happy to have him.
Thanks, everybody.